Hi, this is Arthur Carmazzi, and welcome to this week's episode of Agents of Change. Today we're going to be talking about the power of stories and how stories influence behavior. Back to the Greek myths, to the stories of the ancient Egyptian gods. Okay, it is about changing behavior. The stories were about how to influence people about right and wrong, how to be a hero, how to be a villain, and the consequences of doing wrong things according to the time. And stories still have that power. Oftentimes right now when we're working with people, when we're in relationships, when we're with our kids, we try to tell people what to do, how to do it, instead of telling stories that influence them and make them think that theirs is the idea of how to approach it. See, when we tell somebody something, oftentimes it doesn't really stick. But when we tell a story, when a person makes a realization, their behavior can change if your story is good. Every story must have a villain. And the bigger the villain is, the easier it becomes for the hero to be big. There can never be a big hero without a big villain. The hero is defined by the massiveness of what he has to fight against. And villains and heroes do not necessarily have to be people. They can be circumstances, they can be situations, they can be environments. Let me tell you a story, and then I'm going to explain the elements of this story. Now, this story is a true story. It's a story about me as a child. When I was young, I used to have, well, actually I still have, dyslexia and ADHD, which basically means I can't really pay attention for long periods of time. So, I am in school with all these other first graders, and my teacher basically is comparing me to all the other kids. Well, turns out that I don't really compare. And so I was doing this for a couple of years, and, honestly, I just didn't compare. So I wasn't really feeling like a very smart kid. And one day, my teachers called my parents, and they said, "Mr. and Mrs. Carmazzi, your son Arthur is special." Okay, that's code word for stupid. And so I ended up going to the special kids class because they said that I needed to go, and so off I went. And so here I am in the special kids class. Now in this special kids class, there's this teacher, and her name is Mrs. Kelly, and she's so sweet and she's so kind, and she just makes it so easy for me to feel like it's okay to be stupid. And I learned to be even more stupid, because it turns out the more stupid that I became, the more attention I got. And, well, go figure, I like attention. So, eventually though, the school changed the rules. And they said, oh, before you can go to high school, you need to take an algebra class. I'm thinking, what? Algebra class? Isn't that like math for smart kids? I can't do that. But they said I have to go, so off I went. And here I am in this algebra class. My very first report card, do you know what I got? I got an F. Of course I got an F. And I didn't misinterpret anybody's expectations, because everybody had really expected me to get a very good grade in this class. Even my parents, who were very supportive of my low grades. But there was a difference here. See, I had this teacher named Mr. Backus in my 8th grade algebra class. And Mr. Backus, he had this really, really shiny bald head and this kind of longish hair. And he wore these big, thick glasses and always wore this brown corduroy coat. And I don't know if it was the same coat or, I don't know. Anyway, he was always wearing the same coat. So, here I am, sitting down with Mr. Backus after class because he said he wanted to talk to me, and he shows me a simple algebra problem. He says, "Can you solve this?" And so immediately I started to write stuff down because, well, that's what they told you to do. You have to write stuff down in order to show your work, to show how you actually did it. He says, no, don't write it down. Can you just look at the problem and give me the answer? So I gave him an answer. And he said, that's right. It's like, well, okay. So it turns out, he says, I can get some extra credit. I wanted extra credit. I mean, I wanted to graduate. I wanted to go to high school. So he says, okay, if you want to get extra credit, you have to volunteer for this game that I'm going to do at the end of every week. And so I said, great, okay. So he would do the same thing. He'd put one of these simple problems on the board, and then it would be a competition between me and another student or whoever volunteered also to come up, and the first person to solve the problem without writing anything down in their head was a winner, and you get an extra credit point. And you get to do this a couple of times. Well, anyway, it turns out I'm actually pretty good at this game. And because I'm good at this game, well, I'm good at this game in front of an entire class of kids. And after about 3 weeks of being good at this game, these students started to come up to me and they started saying, hey, Arthur, do you think, you can help me with my homework? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, these kids think I'm smart. And I'd make something up, like my mom, she is, really, she needs me at home and I really can't help you, sorry. I had no confidence. How could I help these kids? I was a stupid kid. But then one day, this beautiful young lady named Lynn Pachalski comes up and says, Arthur, can you help me with my homework? And I'm like, yeah. I didn't even really think about whether I could. I mean, she was just cute. So I learned to be smart. I learned to be smart. And see, sometimes we are affected by our environment. And people judge us. Those teachers, they judged me. Even Mrs. Kelly, who was sweet and supportive, she just accepted that I was a stupid kid. Only when somebody started to try to figure out what I was good at, one thing, focus on what I was actually successful at, did my entire destiny change. And if it hadn't been for one teacher who had taken that time, just a few minutes to learn why I was not doing this or what I was actually good at, and help me to be successful at something that I thought I wasn't successful at, and helping me to do it in front of a group of people. Because of one teacher, I am now traveling around the world, sharing my ideas and changing hundreds of thousands of people's lives. And those people are going out and they're changing hundreds of thousands of people's lives and millions of people. And it's all because of one person who decided that they weren't going to accept the status quo, the perception of everybody else. Otherwise, I might be working at a McDonald's asking people would you like to upsize that? Now let's look at the elements of the story. Who was the villain? Okay, well, the villain were the society. Society was the villain. The teachers, even my parents who were not really questioning things. Okay, Mrs. Kelly, who was not, even though she was sweet, she just accepted. The entire environment had become the villain. Who was the hero? The hero was Mr. Backus, the individual who, by helping the student, in this case myself, was able to transform an entire future. Now, what if he would have just said, do the algebra, just do it, you can do it? Would it have had the same effect? Now, what if I would have just told you, focus on people's strengths? Don't look for their weaknesses. Would it have the same effect? See, we can influence our loved ones, our children, our spouses. We can influence our teams, our companies. We can influence large groups of of people as trainers through stories. The bigger the villain, the bigger the hero. And so, with that, I'd like to leave you with a challenge. Use stories to support the success of the people around you. Don't tell them what they should do or shouldn't do. Use a story. Create consequences. What happens if they don't? In my case, what were the consequences? If I did not move forward, I would have been somebody working at McDonald's. What was the benefit? The benefit is me traveling around the world. There is a big gap there. So, in the darkness, this is Arthur Carmazzi wishing you great success. Maybe. Ow! Ow!
Don't touch.
They put gasoline in it?
No, here, now.
They're going to put gasoline. Okay. Whoa! Except don't look like fairy, kind of like. And what a better place than with your friends and family in front. Okay, wait a minute. I got you all mixed up. Yeah, family, friends. Okay, one more time. Okay, all right. Okay, wrong. Okay, ready and
Action.
action. Okay.
Really hot on my face.
I remember that I had to make something up. Please don't leave me out in the rain. Share this with everyone. Make comments, okay? Leave all sorts of questions that you have so that we can answer them in the next videos. And make sure, of course, you tell everybody about this. And don't forget, hashtag Agents of Change and hashtag Arthur Carmazzi. With that, again, I wish you great success and change the world in the process.